Greetings to all C3RF members and friends across Canada and around the world, and a special welcome to the folks at Veterans for Freedom on their dedicated streaming channels as they view this video summary of the C3RF update for 8 November 2024. The title of this update is Breakout, and it kicks off by noting that in hockey parlance, a power play is a period of time during the game when one team has more players because one or more of the other team is in the penalty box. One can be forgiven for making a power play analogy on both the Canadian and world scenes, as one side of the raging culture battle in the form of war horses, championing the side of objective reality, are being put in the penalty box on a regular basis. This has been reported on in a recent C3RF update, in which it was noted that regime authorities have been busy taking champions like Doctors Jordan Peterson and Byram Bridle out of the game. Recall that Peterson was fighting back against his own professional college as it demanded he undergo social media retraining, even as Bridle was locked out of his own laboratory at the University of Guelph for his pushback against the not-so-safe and effective Wuhan virus vaccines. But it does not end there. The penalty box is chock full and getting fuller as brave and knowledgeable truth seekers are piled into it. As related to this publication by its many followers, Lloyd, Brian, and Elsa have noted that internationally renowned lawyer Rainer Fulmick has been wasting away in a German prison for months now on allegations of financial impropriety. His imprisonment is opportune for the side promoting one-size-fits-all Wuhan virus vaccines, as his research and collation of expert testimony to the contrary was putting a large dent in their efforts. Then there was Ed, who pointed out that an outspoken and conscientious Dr. Nagase and had his medical privileges nixed by the Alberta Colleges of Physicians and Surgeons in 2021. He deigned to successfully treat emergency room patients with ivermectin. These sanctions remain in place to this day, with disciplinary proceedings on hold. 3 years into the penalty box has become, or must be, some sort of a record. But perhaps the most egregious use of the penalty box to handicap one side and reward the other comes in the case of Tommy Robinson. Tommy came to the public's attention throughout the Western world by virtue of his reportage of the UK's raping and grooming gangs. These gangs, operating throughout the north of England over the 2003 to 2014 time period, were primarily populated by Pakistani men and left unchecked by police authorities for fear of being called racist. Robinson would break the code of silence that the media writ large had placed on related court proceedings and would find himself jailed as a result. This by a judge who, in under 5 minutes, tried, convicted, and sentenced Robinson to 13 months, after which he was immediately taken to prison. Tommy's latest run-in with the law would come on 28 October 2024, when he was tried and packed off to Belmarsh Prison over the course of the day for distributing his film Silenced. This was in contravention of court orders, and then we see another one biting the dust in the form of Tommy Robinson. As freedom-fighting war horses like Peterson, Bridle, Fulmick, Nagase, and Robinson are sidelined in the penalty box for mis- and disinformation infractions, the penalty kill team takes to the ice. This team will need to successfully defend against the opposing team's power play, consisting of continuing attacks launched by a bevy of formidable specialist players. These power play contestants include those imbued with the full-throated authority of the state in the form of judicial, legislative, and security forces. For its part, the penalty kill team will need to optimize precision, teamwork, and strategic thinking if it's to keep the puck out of the net and the game within reach until the penalties expire. This is no time to give in to the strengths of the power play and allow them to control the puck. It is essential that the penalty killers impede such control and keep the shots on net to a minimum. Controlling the puck and disrupting the power play will take a tremendous amount of discipline. As a priority, it is absolutely essential to play within the rules, as the last thing the effort needs is yet another player in the penalty box. Seen in this light, freedom fighters who are pushing back against the loss of their civil liberties will need to make the most out of the tools available. Tools like playing within the rules while maximizing non-compliance and legal protest. Staying out of the penalty box and keeping the protest pressure on with relentless effort optimizes the numeric advantage the truth seeker penalty killing side enjoys. Then, over time, the ideologues on the opposing side will become demoralized as they are forced to react rather than press ahead in accordance with their attack plan. The proof is in the pudding when it comes to the non-compliance legal protest strategy, as exhibited by the Freedom Convoy 2022 phenomena that saw successive provinces relent on lockdown and vaccine mandates as a result. At the federal level, we saw Freedom Convoy 2022 penalty kill activities cause great consternation as the Liberal NDP government to this day remains consumed with trying to address its overreach by virtue of its invocation of the Emergencies Act. The invocation, you see, was ruled to be unreasonable by a federal court judge and now sticks as a thorn in the side of future governments who would be predisposed to declare it again. It was through the persistent actions of the likes of Medal of Bravery winner Warrant Officer Eddie Cornell, retired, that Judge Richard Mosley determined that the federal government was in way over its head when it invoked the act and crushed the civil liberties of solid, law-abiding Canadians. Talk about rocking the power play back on its heels to both demoralize its players and disrupt its attack plan. The demoralization of the regime's power play continues apace both at home and abroad. At home and outside of Mosley's ruling, we see Canadian courts overreaching unashamedly to pick and choose winners and losers on the basis of politics. How else to explain the ongoing travesty that is the Coots 4, or Tamara Leach/Chris Barber mischief saga, in which bail is denied multiple times over a 2-year-plus period while violent criminals skate away on bail within days of their alleged crimes. Then there is a court decision to allow a $290 million class action suit to proceed against Freedom Convoy 2022 participants, even though they were found to be legally protesting, as determined by Justice McLean, in the midst of the bouncy castle proceedings. It's overreach across the Atlantic as well, as the Robinson ruling is compared to the treatment afforded the alleged Southport dancing studio attacker and Manchester airport belligerents to label the whole justice system as, quote, two-tier care, unquote. As the penalty kill proceeds apace, it gains momentum as other governments, like Australia's, recognize Wuhan virus lockdowns for what they truly were, a massive mistake that the public will not accept in the future. As for the related wonder vaccines, 3 years after their rollout, media professionals who are not part of the regime's power play greet claims of rare adverse effects and millions saved with loud guffaws. As public opinion rises exponentially against the handling of the Wuhan virus pandemic in Canada, we see its own Prime Minister's favorability ratings plummet and his caucus careening towards mutiny. In hockey, the term breakout is used to describe a situation when one team gains control of the puck in their defensive end and passes or skates the puck out of their defensive zone. It appears that the penalty killers are on the verge of a breakout. The breakout couldn't come soon enough, as the power play set-piece strategy is set to roll with devastating impact on the civil liberties of all Canadians. It consists of a 1-2 punch in the form of Bills C-63 and 293 that are perilously close to passage and royal assent. The former would gag citizens and even censor their thoughts, while the latter builds on Canada's binding signature on recently approved international health regulations. It does so by creating a national pandemic prevention and preparedness coordinator responsible for coordinating global lockdown and vaccine measures in accordance with the World Health Organization dictates. It matters not that such strategies have been discredited, as the regulations include provisos that forbid criticism on the basis of misinformation. If one was really cynical, one could connect the dots that include 1. The international health regulations and Bill C-63's crushing of debate. 2. Bill C-293's tip of the hat to a One Health approach that opens the door to the declaration of a climate change forced pandemic. And lastly, Section 59 of the Canadian Election Act that permits the cancellation of elections in pandemic conditions. This leads to an uneasy assessment that Canada might very well have had its last national election. But that's just conspiracy theory, no? Maybe that breakout can't come soon enough. In closing, a reminder to join us at CanadianCitizens.org, where you can see this update in its full glory, including links to all of the cited documents. Simply go to the News tab at the top of the page and select C3RF from its drop-down menu. Until next time, this is Russ Cooper signing off, wishing you and yours much happiness and freedom from C3RF.